Good morning. Okay, so
Good
had a
morning.
sorry for the delay, had a little problem getting onto Zoom, but we should be good this morning. Okay, we got to the point where I think we really finished. What? Any problem with sound?
Sound is
No.
good.
Sound is good. Okay. All
Oh,
right.
we hear you fine.
Okay, good. Okay, so on the bottom, remember, of 100B, Kaf Amud Beis, okay, we got into that discussion. And I just want to pick up very quickly from there, and then we'll go into today's Amud, which is 101. Okay, it's not a long Amud, so we shouldn't have a problem. Okay. Think about the fact again, we had this discussion about the boat, okay? And whether you had to just stick a pole or something by the boat to designate sides of the boat as a mechitza.
Does
whether
everyone
we-
have sound? Anyone?
Everybody said they could hear all right.
I hear
Yep.
you, Harvey.
Can
I don't have
everybody,
sound.
what?
Rabbi,
right.
Check,
Yeah,
check
I don't hear
machine.
you.
you can't hear me?
Harvey has a problem.
All right, let me-
Harvey, check your Zoom machine. Check the
Uh,
sound. the upper
Harvey,
left.
I can hear you, and your sound is on, you're not muted. I checked, okay, the only one who's muted themselves is Bob Brumberg, okay? Everybody else has their sound on, okay?
Harvey evidently is not responding when we talk to him, so he doesn't hear anything. Harvey, you hear us?
Okay. All right, I will start again. All right, Harvey,
I can't show him that I'm going to call him because, I can't get a picture.
I have his picture. Okay. All right, let's
Start.
start, yeah. Okay, and then the other view was that they needed to bring what I call this contraption, okay, of something 4x4 with a hole in the middle, and then they would lower the bucket or things like that inside it, okay? And the Gemara at the end of the Amud said, well, how can you dump the wastewater into the same location? It's disgusting, right? And then they said, therefore, the rabbis permitted them to pour the wastewater over the side of the boat, okay? But the Gemara raised the question, isn't that still a matter of force, the power of the person? It's an active act, okay? All right? And then the Gemara ended there, Karmalit lo gazru, and that the rabbis did not make a decree in terms of personal act vis-a-vis the implication on the in a Carmelite, right? And the last line, uminat temra, how do you know this? On what basis do you say this? The Tanya, as taught now, last line of Amud Beis, 100 Amud Beis, Kaf Amud Beis, the Tanya Sfina, ein metaltalin, lo betocha liyam, lo min hayam letocha. Okay, according to this Braita, and regarding a ship, one can't carry water from the sea into the ship or from the ship into the sea. Now, let's go on to Kaf Amud Aleph, our new daf for today. Right? Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda, Amuka Asara, Ve'en Gevoha Asara. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda is trying to clarify and says if it's 10 breaths deep, the water, but not 10 breaths high, in other words, from the edge of the water up to the top of the boat, right? And remember, we talked about Roman boats that were lower in the middle and had at either end went up, okay? Protrusions there. Metaltalin mitocha liyam. One can carry from inside the boat into towards the sea. Avalo min hayam letocha, but not from the sea into the boat. Okay. Ma'ishana, what's the difference? Asks the Gemara. Min hayam letocha. Okay, from the sea into the boat. Delo deka metaltalin mikarmalit l'rishut yachid. What's the difference if you say that you can't transmit or carry from the Carmelite into the private domain? Mitocha liyam nami kamataltel mirishut yachid lekarmelit. If that's the case, from inside the sea to carry in, right into the boat also is problematic. Okay, mirishut yachid into the Carmelite. Ela lav achuda. No, says the Gemara, that was referred to being on the edge or the side of the boat. Ushmamina, and therefore we learn from this, kolcho bekarmalit lo gazru shmamina. Okay, that from saying even though there's the force, the action of the person, okay, going into the Carmelite from the Rishus Yachid, the rabbis did not make a gezerah to forbid one's force in this regard. Indeed, that's what we learn. Okay, let's go on. Okay, now we're going to get to a different kind of boat. Apparently, there were smaller boats. I guess let's call them like a raft almost. Okay. Or a rowboat or something smaller that was used on the canals in Babylonia. And that's where we're going to connect with a different kind of a boat here. Amar Rav Huna. Says Rav Huna, Hani bit yitziata the Mesha. We have these canal boats, okay, from the area of Messina. Right? Ein metaltalin ele ba'arba'a. Okay, we say that you can only carry them in a distance of 4 cubits. Okay, so they were very narrow boats, and they at the end they came to almost like a point. Okay, and right. So, in other words, since they were so narrow, these small boats, okay, they couldn't be counted as if they are a separate rishus. Okay?
So what was it, a V-shape? Rabbi, was a V-shaped hull?
I don't know. I don't think it was V-shape. The pictures I had didn't show it as V-shape. It's sort of more like, you know, the best example I would give is think of a skiff, like a gondola, except it doesn't go up at the top at each end, but it's a narrow, small boat that sort of comes to a point at either end. That kind of an image, all right? So what happens, all right? So the Gemara says, as I said, these small canal boats, okay, ba'arba'a, v'lo amran ela she'ein b'pachot mishlosha, okay, arba'a, okay? And so the Gemara is telling us, but only when we say that it had 4 handbreadths did we consider it a separate domain. If it's less than 3 handbreadths of water from the top of the water to the bottom, okay, it's not considered a separate domain, right? Right? And so therefore, aval yesh b'pachot mishlosha, if there's, don't have 4 handbreadths, okay, and they're less than 3. Okay, Pachod mishlosh arba'a lit lan ba. Okay, then we have no objections here in regard to these because they're not considered a separate domain. Ve'im alinhu kane va'orvane lit lan ba. And if we fill these canal boats, let's say with reeds or with bulrushes, okay, something like that, okay, that let's say even if they were standing up in the boat, okay, vertically, and therefore between the height of the boat and the height of the reed or the bulrush, okay, you wound up having then a height of 4 amos, which would theoretically then be a separate domain. Okay, we say litlan ba. We don't have any issue there. Okay, it's not still considered a separate domain. However, mat kifla Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman challenges this. Velema, he says, what if we say, good achit mechitzata, okay? Namely, stretch and bring the partitions down, okay? In other words, stretch down the sides of the boat as if they are partitions on either side. If that's the case, then maybe if the water's, let's say, 3 amos, and you've got a little bit of the boat that adds to that amount, then you would have, wouldn't it then be a separate domain? Okay. So the Gemara then says, "Mi lo Tanya," okay, but wasn't it taught there? Rabbi Yossi beRabbi Yehuda Omer, Na'atz kaneh bereshut harabi. That he says if you put the rod take a rod and stick it in the street, uberosho tarsikal, and on top of the beam, the rod, you place a basket, vizarak venach al gabab, and you throw something and it rests inside the basket, chayav, the person then is culpable. Alma, why is this the case? Amrinan good achit mechitzata, because we say that the sides of the basket on top of the pole, actually it's as if they, let's say, theoretically go straight down, and therefore they form partitions, which means everything there is a separate domain. Hachanami, nema good achit mechitzata. Here too, we would say, therefore, extend the sides down, and it becomes as if it's a separate domain for this boat. Now, mat kifla Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef, however, challenges this, and he says to him, okay, v'lo shamia laho lahad amar Rav Yehuda amar Rav. Okay, didn't you hear what was said by Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav? Right? Umatu ba mishum Rabbi Chia, and others, let's say, trace it or identify it with Rabbi Chia. V'tani Allah, okay, and it was taught in regarding to this, right? But right, b'chachamim potrin, okay, but the sages then exempt him, okay. So that was an implication that clearly that the rabbis disagreed with him in that view, that we don't say good achit mechitzata, we don't stretch it down. Okay, so what happens? Amar le Abaye, says Abaye, va'at lo tispara, and Abaye says, don't you hold from this view? V'hatanya, And aren't we taught in a Braita the following? Okay. Amud Bereshut Harabim, Gavoa Asara. If we have a pillar in the public domain and its height is 10 tfachim, V'rachav Arba, and its width is 4. Okay. Again, 4 across. Right. Ve'ein be'ikaro arba, but its base, okay, is not 4, right? So think of a column where in the old times they had the base of the column, and then on the top of the column, it's sort of, they had some sort of flourish, I'll call it, some expanded part, okay? Way back when, if you study, I think a little architecture, you know, there were different kinds of Corinthian and Ionic and things like that.
And usually at the base, though.
What?
Usually the base was wider.
Well, usually the base is wider, but in this case, the
Yeah,
top
not.
was
Yeah.
wider, okay? Right? V'yesh b'katser shalosh shalosh, and basically the edge, okay, was 3. V'zarak v'nach al gabav, and you throw something onto it, okay? So even though the base is smaller, the top of the column is 4 and larger, okay? This Braita says chayav. So that would seem to imply that we do apply the concept of good achit mechitzata, that we do make this projection from the wider area straight down, and that would render it a separate domain. Alma amrinan, and therefore we do say good achit mechitzata. Okay. Now, hachanami, here too, good achit mechitzata. Here too, in our case, wouldn't we therefore apply this concept of extending the partition and bringing it down? Okay, so midi arye. Okay, says the Gemara. Is that what you're saying this? Hatam havya le mechitza shehagdiim bokim ba. There, in that case, what we're really referring to is some sort of a partition so that animals, the goats, won't necessarily go into it, okay? Pass through it. Here, in regards to the water, okay, the ship in the water, here you don't have a case of any kind of partition where animals, particularly goats, would pass through it. Amar le Rav Acha b'rei de Rav Acha, the Rav Ashi, but Rav Acha, the son of Rav Acha, sister Rav Ashi, Gabe Svina, but in regards to the boat, Nami ha'ika b'kiyat dagim. But don't we still have, therefore, this problem of something passing through the partition, okay? In other words, going from one domain to another, okay? Namely the fish, okay? Amarle, he responds to him, b'kiyat dagim lo shmei b'kiyah, that the passing of fish in the water is not considered a passing through a partition, okay? It's not designated like passing through. So the Gemara asks, Uminat temra, and on what basis do you say this? Okay? Deba'i mine Rabbi Tavla mirabin. Okay? As a case where Rav Tabla asked Rabin the following, right? Mechitza tluya. Okay? If you hang a partition, okay? The best example I can give for the moment is, let's say, a wall of a sukkah, right? Mahu shetatir bechurba. Okay, so if you hang this partition, does that permit you then, okay, to make a ruins, a area in which you can carry, okay, if you have partitions there. Va'amar le, and he said to him, ein mechitzat liyah, right? Okay, materet, ela b'mayim, okay? That this kind of suspended partition makes it only permissible in regards to water, right? Kalhu shehikilu chachamim b'mayim, that it was a leniency that the rabbis permitted in regards to the connection with water. So we're now on Amud Beis, right? Va'amai, and why is that the case? Ha'ika b'kiyat dagim, but don't we have then the passing of fish through it? He asked. Ela shma mina b'kiyat dagim lo shma b'kiyah. But we say that the passing of fish through such a, call it partition, is not considered real passing. Okay? Let's go on to a new piece now from the Gemara. You remember we said that if the boats were tied together, one could carry from one boat to another. Okay? Now, we might ask a reasonable question. With what should the boats be tied? Okay? Do we say, thinking, are they simply tied up at the dock? Okay? Then they're only tied to the dock and the boats still are sort of moving. But if one boat is actually tied to another, okay, does that sort of make it almost like no different from one room to another in the same house? Okay, that's my example. So let's go on now. Sfinot kshurot. Okay, if you pshita, that's obvious, says the Gemara. Amar Rava, says Rava, lo nitzracha ela lahatir bitzit shebenehem. Now that was only permitted, okay? We only required to say that if there was one of these small rafts or dinghies or something like that, that was between them. Amar le Rav Safra, and Rav Safra says to him, Mishum Moshe, okay, taking an oath, okay, by Moses, so to speak, okay, or what a scholar you are, okay, just like Moses, right? Shapir Ka'amart, well said, he said, Metaltalin mizolazo, because then our Mishnah said one could carry from one to another. Okay, it's none, but a text teaches, Ela Amar Rav Safra, says Rav Safra, Lo nitzracha Ela le'arev. No, says Rav Safra, gives a different explanation. It was necessary to tell us that in the Mishnah in order to be able to tell us that one could create an Eruv. Ted, what you had raised the question, right?
Yeah, I was a day ahead.
Right? Going from one boat to another. Okay? Ulataltel mizo lazo. And to carry from one to another. Ukaditanya. And as it was taught, elsewhere in another Braita, Sfinot kshurot zo bezo, boats tied one to another. Ma'arvin, one can sort of make them into a eruv chatzerot, right? A common boundary. Umataltalin mizo, and one can carry then from one to another. Right? Nifsaku, but if the boats became separated, ne'esru, okay, then it's forbidden. Chazru v'niksharu, if they went back and they tied them again. Bein b'shogegin vein mezidin. Okay. If they rejoin them, right? And I'm assuming that this is done on Shabbat, whether in ignorance, by unwillingly or willingly, bein anusin, bein muta'in, whether they did it sort of accidentally or under duress, okay? Chazru leheteran, return to their original permitted status. Okay? So the Gemara then adds another piece, right? L'chein machatzalot haprusot Rabbi. And likewise, he said, if we spread or hang up the mats, okay, one could combine them and carry them into the public domain. Ma'arvin u'mataltalin mizo lazo. Okay, one could carry them, bond them, and carry them. Niglalu, but if they become unrolled, okay, ne'esru, they become forbidden. Chazru v'nifrashu, again, if they are rolled up again, okay, if they're respread, all right, and went back and spread them out again, ben shogegin ben mizidin, whether it was done incidentally or willingly, ben anusin ben muta'in, whether it was done out of duress or whether it was done accidentally or erroneously. Chazru leheteran harishon, again, they revert back to their permitted condition, their permitted status. Why? Says the Gemara, shekol mechitza shene'asa b'Shabbat, that any partition that was made on Shabbat, bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid, shma mechitza, whether it was done willingly or ignorantly, unwittingly, it is still considered a valid partition. Aini, is that the case? Asks the Gemara.
So this was, if it's done on Shabbos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. All right. That's what it would seem. So let's go on. Va'amar Rav Nachman. But Rav Nachman says, Lo shanu ela lezrok. Okay. They said that only in respect to a situation of throwing. Okay. Namely that the space that's enclosed by the partitions that were set up on Shabbat would therefore be a Rishus Yachid, okay, in terms of objects being thrown there from the Rishus Harabim, and therefore that's when it would be, a person might be culpable, okay? Aval l'taltel asur, but the carry there, according to Rav Nachman, that is not permitted. Now, ki itmar, the Rav Nachman, when this was said by Rav Nachman, amazid itmar. It was said in terms of the person willfully set that partition up on Shabbat. So he puts a limit on that situation. Now, coming back to a new topic a little bit. We said, what about these boats being tied together? Amar Shmuel, says Shmuel, va'afilu kshurot bechut hasarval. Okay, let's say that the boats were tied together by rope. Okay? In fact, in ancient times, remember, we know they used the rope as a kind of belt. Okay? So maybe that's the kind. Hechidami, what are we talking about then? Is it possible that they would hold the boats together? Idiyachol ha'amidan, says the Gemara, if it's possible to hold it together, pshita, then it's obvious. Ida ein yachol ha'amidan, If it's not able to hold the boats together, amai, why should it be acceptable? Le'olam di'echol ha'amidan. No, we're saying that ideally, it's a case of being able to hold them together. Shmuel la'afuki midinafshei ka'ate. And Shmuel comes to tell us this, to exclude something else that he has taught us, right? Datna. Why? Because elsewhere there's a Mishnah or Braita that teaches kashra b'davar hama'amida. If one ties something, particularly a ship, with something that holds it in place, mevi la tum'ah, that it's possible that could convey defilement to the other ship. The b'davar she'ein ma'amida, if you tie it with something, the ships together, with something that doesn't hold it still, hold it in place, ein mevi la tum'ah, it does not convey defilement. V'amar Shmuel, and Shmuel said in that, regarding to that Braita, v'hu shekshura b'shalshelet shel barzel, and there we're talking about something using, let's say, an iron chain to hold the boats together. Okay, le'inyan tumahu dichti. But the Gemara responds, that's in regarding respect to defilement. That's what we were referring to. Why? Because we say, dichtiv, where it's written, bechalal cherev, with the sword that somebody is slain with the sword. And in that example, cherev harehu kechalal. We say that the metal, the sword, which is made out of metal, is therefore similarly able to be defiled like the corpse. Ein le'inyan Shabbat. But we don't say that this applies about le'inyan Shabbat, but we get ein, right, but it does apply to the issue of Shabbat, since it can still hold it. Since it's able to hold it still. Heker ba'almahu. Others want to say it's as if it's simply a sign to tell us that the boats are held together. Afilu b'chut hasarval. Even if it's done by the kind of rope belt that normally one would wear and hold by to hold a garment. Okay, so that's the end of that. We get to a new Mishnah on 102. So we're going to stop here today. The new Mishnah, again, still touches on the issue of throwing items. Okay, it will finish this particular parak tomorrow. Okay, as you can see, the end of the Amud. And then we go into a whole new subject in the next parak, a new Av Malacha, or one or two other Av Malachot, and clarifying what their situation is. Okay, so we will stop there and pick up tomorrow. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank
Everybody-
you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay, everybody stay well.
Have a
all
good
right?
day.
Take care.